Hey guys, it's Taylor. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. It is time for our monthly wrap up. So behind me I have stacked all of the books I read in March, and we're just gonna go through them. We're gonna talk about if I liked them, what I rated them, thoughts, etc. You guys know the drill. So let's just get into it. Okay, I quickly want to mention I made a Lemon 8 account. I don't know if it's Lemon 8 or like Lemonade, because I haven't heard anyone actually say the name of the app, but when I say like Lemon 8 really fast, it sounds like lemonade, so I don't know. But I literally made it this morning, the day I'm filming this, and I'm kind of honestly not feeling inspired on TikTok or Instagram, and I'm kind of excited to try like a new form of social media. So that's really embarrassing. The lawnmower guy is just staring my window. Anyways, I'm excited. It looks really fun and creative, and I kind of just want to go for it. So if you guys have one, comment down below or follow me and I'll follow you guys back. I'm trying to find bookish people on there. And yeah, that's just like a quick side note because I'm really not feeling inspired on Instagram or TikTok lately. And I think it'd be a fun, fresh start. Alrighty, getting into the books I read in March. March was by far the worst reading month I've had of the year. I know there hasn't been that many months yet, but I felt so uninspired in so many aspects of life actually. Like I just wasn't feeling inspired to create content. I wasn't feeling like reading. I wasn't feeling like book shopping. I wasn't feeling like anything. I just wasn't really feeling like myself, which, you know, that's just fine. We're kind of over it now. I'm already feeling a lot better here in April, first week of April, but yeah, so I feel like I read a decent amount of books in March, but I didn't really like almost any of them. So I don't want this to be a very negative video. I'm going to try not to be negative, but I just kind of want to put a little disclaimer that I was just in the worst reading slump ever. And it felt like every book I started I just did not like, and it was a rough month. I'm going to start on a positive note. These are not in the order I read them, but one of the books I read in March was Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. This was actually one of the books I did really enjoy. I've heard so many great things about this author. So this is the first book that I picked up by her, and I absolutely really love this book. I think I rated it like a 4.25 stars. This is a book that follows a doctor, and then it's a guy in a small town, and her car breaks down, and he helps her in this small town obviously, and she ends up going to the bar, and they kind of talk a little bit. They get to know each other, and it's very kind of small town romance, guy, like rich preppy girl, small town blue collar guy kind of. Obviously this kind of, okay, so I compared this to It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey, but done so much better. It Happened One Summer is super popular. I personally did not love that book. This is kind of like the better version in my opinion. I feel like the characters are a little bit more likable, at least the girl main character. I didn't love the girl character in Tessa Bailey's book, but it is still like she's very rich, she's in a small town, kind of like a reality check that there's more to life than money and status and whatnot. And I just love this book so much. The character development was great. I love the couple. They were like such great characters, and yeah. Next we have Dial A For Aunties. This is a book that was like super hyped up, I feel like, and I was so excited to read it, and it kind of let me down a little bit. I just didn't love this. I think it was very cute, like the relationship between the girl and the aunts, but I don't know, it is classified as a thriller. At least in Barnes & Noble it's in the thriller aisle, and there's not that much of like a thriller aspect to it, to be honest. Basically this girl goes on a blind date that she was set up by her aunts that set it up, and she accidentally kills him, and then she's trying to solve the issue with her aunts. And yeah, this was just kind of like a good, it was like a cutesy read, but it's kind of like one of those books where you close it and you forget the main characters' names, you forget what the book is about, you can't tell anybody anything about it, and you just put it on your shelf. Like that was kind of the vibe I got. So next book we have is An Anonymous Girl. This is a thriller that has been sitting on my TBR cart for literally over a year, I think, and I finally picked it up because I realized that they had a copy on Libby, like the app, and I started to listen to it as an audiobook in between reading it to try and kind of get through some books on my TBR cart. And I like to listen to thrillers as audiobooks because it kind of just sounds like a true crime podcast in a way. So basically this is about a girl who goes to this case study that the psychiatrist is performing, and she just kind of lives like a rough life. She's just like kind of struggling with money, and the lady is offering money to be a part of her case study. So she goes and she kind of like lies about who she is, because she wasn't invited. It was one of her clients. And so she goes to this case study and the lady is just obviously asking her all these questions and she keeps getting picked to go back and go back. And then it just kind of gets a little weird and a little personal. And she's wondering kind of like who else is in this study? Is this even a real study? And so she's trying to kind of like start her own little investigation on the psychiatrist. And there's just so many twists and turns that happen in this book. And it was really, really good. I feel like I haven't ever heard anyone talk about this book, at least not the people I watched. And I really enjoyed it. I gave it like a 4.25 stars. It was kind of different from a lot of the thrillers that I have read, so I did enjoy that. And I just love reading thrillers where a psychologist or a psychiatrist or whatever is a part of the book, because it always just is so interesting to me. And I really did enjoy this, and I'm glad I finally read it. This one is going to be controversial. I finally finished the Song of Achilles. I've had this literally for over a year. I started off the month with this and it just kind of put me in that slump. I just really could not get into it. I started listening to it as an audiobook and then I tried to switch over and read it and I just did not care. Like, I don't know, so many people love this book and I really wanted to love it. It might have just been because I was in a slump. I might eventually go back and try and reread it, but I literally just could not get into it. I don't think that Greek mythology retellings are for me. Yeah. Next book I read was Saving Six. This is the third book in the Boys of Tommen series by Chloe Walsh. I was so excited. I actually had started this in February and I was kind of slowly reading it throughout the month and then I finished it in March because this is a thick book. This is 600 pages. The font is really small. All of her books are like this, but the first two books are about different characters, but this book is about the brother of the main character. And so some of the stuff that's in this book, you kind of already saw in the first two books. So I kind of was slowly reading it because I didn't want to like zoom through it. And I kind of already knew not what was going to happen, but like kind of the main picture, if that makes sense. And I just really enjoyed it. Such a heartbreaking book and I can't wait to read the fourth one. I think it's already out. I just need to order it. Yeah, I can't really tell you much about this book because you have to read the first two books in the series and this will be a spoiler. But if you haven't read this series yet, you need to start it. They're really big and they're really small font, but they're really freaking good. So I really did enjoy this one as well. Next book we have is Pack Up the Moon by Christina Higgins, and this is going to be another controversial opinion. I just did not care for this book, and I had been wanting to read this so bad because so many people are like, this book will make you cry, it'll shatter your heart, etc. And when I'm in a book slump, I'm like, that's the kind of book I need. Like, I need a book to provoke some emotion, and I just literally did not like this book at all. It's basically about this guy. We're following his story. His wife was diagnosed with a terminal illness and she kind of writes him letters to go through the stages of grief, and he reads them like every month. And basically the wife is trying to help him like move on because she knew that when she was dead, he was gonna have a hard time, obviously. And like, don't get me wrong, I didn't hate this book. Like, it was like, I did feel some emotion, but I feel like when books start off and the main character dies, either like immediately or has already died, or like they only show a tiny bit of their life and then they're dead, like I just don't get that connection to them. Like, yeah, it's still sad reading about someone go through grief, but I feel like if we knew the character more, it would hit different, in like my opinion. The same one as that book, what is it called, You've Reached Sam. I felt that way too, where it was like they're already dead within the first one chapter, two chapters. Like, I don't feel any emotion. So yeah. Then I read Before We Were Strangers by Renee Carlino. I really enjoyed this book. I think this is the first book I read in March. And this is a second chance romance. I love second chance romances. That's like one of my favorite tropes ever. So basically we have two people who they were in college together, they had a little thing, etc. And then we go to the present time where he ends up seeing the girl at a train station and she's getting onto the train, and so like they kind of had a brief like wave at each other, and then he can't stop thinking about her. He's trying to find her and he ends up finding her through this like website where you kind of put like, I forget what it's called, but like you describe the person, like who they are and whatnot, and they can like contact you. And so they obviously rekindle after like all of these years, and she's hiding like a super big secret of her new life, and he kind of finds that out, and they kind of like break up, which they didn't get back together, but they kind of like, I don't know how to explain it without spoiling anything. And yeah, really enjoyed this book. I think I gave it like a 4.75 stars. Okay, then I read One of Us Is Lying. This is another book that is just literally so hyped up that it fell flat for me. I really was not interested that much in the storyline. I don't like when books have a zillion characters, like a huge friend group right off the bat, because I literally cannot keep up. Like, I cannot remember names, I cannot, and that's just kind of like one red flag immediately. If a book has like 10 characters in the first chapter, I'm done with it. And so this book is obviously following a friend group, and they are following a mystery. One of their friends is killed while they're all in detention, and so everyone is trying to figure out who did it, because obviously it has to be one of them because they were the only ones in the room with this guy. And yeah, I don't know, I feel like I don't really love YA thrillers. I did really like the Good Girls Guide to Murder, so I thought I would really like this, but yeah, I didn't. I think I give like a 1.25 stars, which is really, really low, and I feel bad, but I just literally, it was horrible to get through for myself. I kind of went on a thriller kick this month because whenever I am in a slump, I feel like thrillers really help get me out of it. And so I then read The Hunting Wives, which I did really enjoy. This one, I was so happy that I found one that I really liked this month. And this is following basically a group of wives, and they have this kind of like secret society club thing that they do. They call it The Hunting Wives, and they basically go out onto one of the ladies' land, and they shoot guns and they drink wine, and they're just kind of living their life. And this one lady, she ends up joining the main character, and she kind of is just like really obsessed with the one like head girl of this group, kind of like a like Mean Girls Regina George situation. Like, she's kind of mean to her, but like she's kind of obsessed with her and like all of that. And so they kind of like be friends on the side of the group, and she tries to like discover the secrets, and there's a lot of secrets in this like wives friend mom group, and they're hiding stuff from their husbands and all this crazy stuff. And I feel like whenever a book is about rich ladies, the drama is just great. Like, rich people drama is so interesting to learn about, or read about, not learn about. Yeah. And so then one day, one of the girls, not one of the girls in the group, but a different girl, ends up dead on somebody's property, one of the wives' property, and it's this huge mystery, and everyone's like kind of pinning it on each other, and no one can figure it out. And it was so good. Loved this book. Then I read Tomorrow, and Tomorrow. I really enjoyed this book. I still think this like cover is literally stunning. It's like one of the most beautiful covers on my shelf. And I really enjoyed this, but I don't know. So basically this book is about two kids in college who are developing games. It's kind of like a childhood friends, not really to lovers, but they also know each other when they're children. Then they kind of meet back up. So I don't want to say second chance romance, because it's not really a romance story, but it's like a second chance friendship, I guess. And so they meet back up, and they're trying to develop games together, and they kind of start this whole thing. And there's just like a lot of past drama and like traumatic stuff that happened to them that kind of gets brought back up. And I don't really know what to classify this book as. Like, it's definitely a fiction book. Like, it's not like a love story. And it's just really beautiful, and I have no interest in video games at all. And I ended up really enjoying this. I kind of compare this to Carrie Soto's Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid, because I have no interest in tennis at all, but I absolutely loved the story. I feel like when it's done like the way that these books were written, it's really enjoyable. And yeah, I don't really know what to say without spoiling major parts of this, so I just really liked it. Then I have On Earth We Are Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. I don't know if that's right. This was an okay book. It was, I don't know, it's definitely out of my comfort zone, not a typical like type of book I would read. But basically this book is a letter written from a son to his mother, and it ended up being very deep and like more traumatic than I really thought. And he kind of is just kind of describing his childhood traumas and stuff, some of which she had caused, and she doesn't know how to read. So the whole point of this is he's writing it to her knowing that she can't read it, and he's older now, and there's a lot of stuff that just kind of takes place in this story, and I don't really know what to say that wouldn't spoil it. So that's kind of that. Basically it just goes through kind of like race and class and masculinity and like all of that, and the becoming of this young boy and kind of what he was put through being raised by his single mother. And yeah, I really enjoyed this, but it's super different from what I normally read. Okay, and the last book I read was The Turn of a Key by Ruth Ware, if that's right. And I'm gonna be completely honest here, I don't really remember what this was about. This was like one of the first thrillers I read this month, and then I read like 4 more after. But I know I did really enjoy it, but I feel like thrillers are so hard. Like, they're so easy to like blend together when you read a lot of them. But what I do remember from this is basically this girl is in jail, and she's writing to this lawyer to help her kind of get out, or I think he's, I don't know if he's a lawyer or a doctor or what, but you're reading kind of letters about why she's innocent, and of course every prisoner says they're innocent, so like what's different about her, and it's just following her case and what she did or what she didn't do. Yeah, I know that's like a really bad explanation, but I don't remember that much, and I don't remember what would be a spoiler, and there's no like synopsis on the back that I can like decide what is or what isn't, but I did like it. So all right, that is all the books I read in March. What a month. Okay guys, we're taking a quick editing break because I started editing this video and I realized I'm missing 2 big books out of the month. So I also started what this book has been on my TBR cart for literally ever, Crave by Tracy Wolff, and that led me into reading Crush as well. So I started the first 2 books in this series, and this is basically like a Twilight kind of, not a retelling, but like a take on Twilight. So it is like a vampire romance, but there's also a whole bunch of other like, there's like werewolves, vampires, witches, gargoyles, like all different things, like aspects. So it's not just a vampire versus werewolf, which I feel like Twilight was. I haven't watched Twilight since I was in middle school, so that's crazy. I feel like I need to reread them. But yeah, I did read these 2 books, and I actually ordered the rest of the series, and then I will finish it once those come. But I actually really did enjoy this series. Very different from what I typically read, and I felt like because I was in such a big slump, I kind of wanted to try something else, and ended up really liking those as well. But yeah, that is it for this video. I promise you guys the next video will not be so somber. I don't know what is going on, okay? Book slumps are not it, and I feel like March was just the worst book slump month. I know that like some of my favorite YouTubers were also in a book slump, so I don't really feel alone in that aspect, but you know, there's that. Thank you guys so much for watching. All of my stuff will be linked down in the description box as always. I love to connect with you guys. You know, check me out on Lemonade or Lemonade or whatever the heck it's called. I used to like hear somebody say it. I haven't heard anybody talk about it. I just see people like linking it on their Instagram stories, so I don't know what it's called, and if I sound stupid, whatever. I'm excited, and that is it. I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.